Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash. And today's video will be another theory video. This time I'll be talking about when we could potentially see Barry create Gideon, but also I will talk about the possibility of the original timeline Flash returning to the show. So yeah, as of now, the cast and crew are obviously filming The Flash Season 8. Through Danielle Panabaker's Instagram story, it seems like they wrapped up Season 8 Episode 1 and they're going on to Episode 2. Although we did find out earlier on through Danielle Panabaker's livestream was that they've been filming the episodes out of order. So some of the cast have been filming Episode 3, some of the cast have been filming Episode 2. But as of today, the cast and crew have fully wrapped up filming Episode 1, in which we did know that one special thing that is taking place during The Flash Season 8 was that it's going to feature a 5-part event. So the first 5 episodes will feature a special event, which is a Flash storyline centered crossover with other Arrowverse characters titled Armageddon. So we'll be seeing characters from across the Arrowverse appearing within these first 5 episodes. And the confirmed characters from the top of my head are Batwoman, Black Lightning, Alex Danvers, Damien Dark, Reverse Flash, Mia Smokescreen Arrow, The Atom, and Ryan Choi. They will all be joining forces together to face off against the main villain for the Flash's 8th season for the crossover event, that being Despero, and he is super OP, so I cannot wait to see how the show will utilize him. And we have also seen various different set photos with the Flash facing off against Despero, so I cannot wait to see how all of that will be on the show when we actually watch the Season 8 premiere and the other episodes for this event. But just like last season, we do know that we will still be having the graphic novel approach. So after Despero, we will be having another main villain and we will be having an interlude in between. But aside from the news about The Flash Season 8, there have been other questions which people have been asking, such as when will we see Barry create Gideon, because it's going to have to happen eventually at some point. But also, this one has been an ongoing question for years. When will we see the original Timeline Flash return? Or even, will the original Timeline Flash return? So for this video, I will be breaking down the two questions and pretty much theorize about what could potentially happen. But before I go over anything, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so firstly, I'll be going over when will we see Barry create Gideon. So obviously, we do know that Gideon is an interactive artificial consciousness used by Eobard Thawne and Team Flash, and she's been hidden in the Time Vault for years inside Star Labs. Though Gideon was used by Eobard Thawne throughout the show, most specifically Season 1, we do know that she was created by Barry Allen from the future, and at some point, Barry creates her so that he could have some assistance when he's out there in the field as the Flash. Now, Gideon is obviously a very complex AI, and it does have some special knowledge, such as knowledge of the timeline, where Gideon has a vast knowledge of the timeline, and that is evident of her being able to catalog all the changes caused by Crisis, for example. She was also able to help Barry time travel throughout the time stream as well, and she was able to identify the different timelines as Barry is running in the Speed Force. She does also have artificial intelligence, where Gideon has the ability to make moves and think of herself for making commands and thinking as much as a human. And she also helps Barry with either creating some sort of tech, finding some formulas, and even helping Barry out with his time travel missions. And also, she does have knowledge of the Speed Force. So Gideon's capable of measuring the speed of a user of the Speed Force. And she's able to see Barry's max speed and Eobard's speed levels as well as his traces of the Speed Force. She's able to identify various things like that. So Gideon is very, very complex. Now, at one point during the Flash Season 6, Gideon got destroyed, and everyone's like, okay, we're finally gonna see Barry create Gideon. However, they took the lazy way out. Instead of us seeing Barry create Gideon, Barry was just able to salvage enough parts to help rebuild Gideon and connect her through an earpiece so that she could help Barry with his time travel mission to the future to witness the coming crisis. This does not count as Barry creating Gideon, because he only recovered the version of Gideon that's already been created and that's already been in the Time Vault for many years. But what we do know is that at some point in the near future, Barry will have to end up making Gideon, so that canonically everything fits in. Barry creates Gideon, somehow it ends up in the hands of Eobard Thawne. Eobard Thawne uses it for his plans, and then he later on gets trapped in the year of 2000 after the murder of Nora Allen, and he's been using Gideon ever since, and she has been hidden in the Time Vault since he's created Star Labs, all the way till now. So for all of these things in canon to make sense, Barry needs to create Gideon at some point. Let's put it in this way so that it makes more sense. Future you is going to go to the basketball court to play with your friends, and in a fictional sense, of course, where your past self finds out something's going to happen in the future, your past self finds out that if you end up going to this basketball game, you end up breaking your hand. So if your past self decides to ignore what you saw in the future or find out what you found out about the future, and you still go to that basketball game with your friends, you're gonna end up with a broken hand. But if you decide to acknowledge it and you avoid going to that game, your future self's hand won't break because you ended up staying at home, so whatever accident happens in the basketball field will not happen. The same analogy applies to this. Barry knows that at some point he will have to create Gideon to help him as the Flash, which is why Gideon is still in the Time Vault, because Barry will eventually create her, so she is going to be there in the past. But if Barry ignores it and he still decides to use the Gideon from the Time Vault, he never ends up making Gideon, and that means that she's not going to exist at all. Because right now, he is using a version he created from the future and through time travel ended up in present day or in the past as well. So if he ignores it, Gideon will be wiped out of existence. She will no longer be there in the Time Vault, and she will no longer be there when Eobard decides to steal Gideon off Barry. However, creating Gideon will be a huge problem for the show because it would literally outsmart anything the show has done. It would literally outsmart every single member of Team Flash, and it would make Barry super overpowered. So if Gideon was ever created, Team Flash will be useless and Barry would be unstoppable, which I guess would be pretty cool to see, but I do like having Team Flash over there as well. But when Barry uses Gideon for help, he would be able to find like 100 different ways to defeat a villain in the first encounter with Gideon by his side. Gideon can literally run like a probability check to see the different possibilities or different ways to defeat this villain and what are the chances of him defeating that villain in this certain way. Then he would be easily able to choose the most efficient one and defeat the villain in first encounter. That's how overpowered Gideon would make Barry. He could find multiple different ways to get faster. He could use Gideon's help to build certain tech, in which if Barry was even capable of creating something so advanced as Gideon, Chester would be useless. Yes, Chester could make tweaks to certain tech, but again, if Barry can create Gideon, he can definitely create some sort of tech by himself. You could also argue that the only useful Team Flash member would pretty much be Caitlin, because she has experience in the medical field. Yes, Gideon can probably guide Barry with treatment, but he wouldn't be able to do surgery or just normal operations on his own because he wouldn't be qualified to do it. Yes, during the Flash Season 7 Episode 2, when Barry was acting like DeVoe with his super OP speed thinking, he was able to treat Frost and, wake her up with this antidote, but that was from his own brain. It's not from another thing's opinion, so that's why he was able to do it then. But if it's through the help of Gideon, with Barry still being there with his normal intellect, there's no way he would be able to do something like that. That's why Caitlin would be needed. If Barry was ever knocked out unconscious, Caitlin would be there. So you would argue that Caitlin would be the only relevant Team Flash member with the existence of Gideon, because other than that, other Team Flash members, as I previously mentioned, would literally be useless because it's just too smart for everyone else. So this is why bringing in something as complex as Gideon would be a huge issue for the show, and the same would have been for the speed thinking. If the speed thinking during episode 2 of season 7 remained, it would be super overpowered. So that's why they got rid of that, and the same issue would be there for Gideon, which is why I don't think Barry will create Gideon anytime soon because they need to get Team Flash involved. Just for contractual reasons, just for screen time for the other cast, they need to get Team Flash involved somehow, and the only way to do so is to help Barry. If Barry was to ever create Gideon, I think it would be during the final season of The Flash, because that would make the most sense. Because if he was able to create it during, let's say, season 8, what's the point of having Team Flash? So that's why if Barry was to ever create Gideon, I would say that Barry would create her during the final season of The Flash, whenever that is. Let's just say season 9 for now. But in regards to the original timeline Flash, he has obviously been a character so many people have been so interested in for so long. Everyone wants to see him return, and that includes myself. I would love to see him return at some point, but that can't happen because ever since Eobard murdered Nora Allen, the whole timeline changed. Barry got struck by lightning in the year of 2013 instead of 2019, and Barry Allen becomes the Flash in the year of 2014, not 2020. Eobard murders Harrison Wells and becomes Wells-Abard, so pretty much everything from the original timeline has been rewritten. Eobard explodes the particle accelerator on purpose, whereas in the original timeline it's probably been an accident, or the particle accelerator has actually been successful but Barry still ends up getting struck by lightning. Something like that would be happening. So due to the murder of Nora Allen and everything else which has been done through Eobard's plans, the original timeline is completely rewritten. It doesn't exist, meaning when Barry and Eobard go back to the night where Nora Allen was murdered, it's going to be a future version of the Barry Allen we have on the show right now and the Eobard Thawne we have on the show right now. So although I do think that it would be pretty cool for us to see the original timeline Flash return, I don't think that will ever happen. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to tell me in the comment section down below if you guys think that the original timeline Flash will return, and also be sure to tell me in the comment section down below when you guys think Barry will create Gideon. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.